Our political editor Nick Robinson at G8 summit in Germany. Well, Chris Miller is head of the global warming campaign at Greenpeace USA. He urged President Bush to support the proposals put forward by Chancellor Merkel.
We are quite disappointed with President Bush's proposal in the lead up to the G8 meeting. It is quite clear, and the scientists are quite clear, around what is required, and that is, as Prime Minister Blair and Chancellor Merkel have suggested, binding limits on greenhouse gas emissions. President Bush's proposal was quite clear. It does not contain binding limits, and that what it essentially calls for is a meeting. That meeting is currently taking place in Germany, and we think President Bush ought to step up and support the German language.
It is quite a turnaround to have President Bush saying things like this at all, though, isn't it? But in a sense, does it matter what he says at all? I mean, he'll be out of the White House by the end of next year.
And I think that's a really important point. As you know, Speaker Nancy Pelosi from the United States Congress traveled to Germany last week, met with Chancellor Merkel to talk about the issue of global warming, and I think to help folks understand that there is a commitment on the part of the United States to take action on global warming. I think that we will ultimately see, once President Bush leaves office, real action and leadership on behalf of the United States. But we would like to see in Germany this week at the G8 meeting, the 7 remaining countries move forward on the German language without President Bush, and that they move forward in a way that agrees to timelines and targets, on the understanding that progress is being made in the U.S. The Congress has prioritized this issue. Businesses are prepared to take action. We're seeing action at the state and local level. Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger of California is a leader on this issue.
Okay.
So.
Yes, sure. Just before we run out of time, that's the USA dealt with, if you like. Now, where do we stand, therefore, with China and India, who have professed this week that they won't let climate change reduction get in the way of their economic development?
I think it is a problem for the fact that the United States is not leading on this issue. I think once President Bush steps aside, that you will see the next occupant of the White House prioritize this issue. And I think that kind of leadership is necessary before we see China and India willing to accept binding emission limits. We clearly have an obligation to step up to the plate, and I think when we do, I think we will see China and India engage in a stronger way.
Chris Miller of Greenpeace USA. A jury in Rome has acquitted 5 people accused